Welcome to episode 2 of Vertical Slice, where I interview interesting people in the gaming scene around gaming culture. Last episode, we had Mike from Gaming Gala, the current host of YouTuber of the Month, as he is now technically YouTuber of the Year till the end of the year. In this episode, I'd like to present my friend Davey. Davey
Hello.
is a games journalist, so we're going to get a little bit of how the sausage is made. Davey works for a
Hello.
publication online, primarily called Gamer Hub, and we're going to find out a bit what it's actually like to be a game dev and stuff like that. So, Davey, if you want to tell the boys or girls of the Zen fam, and obviously the non-binary members as well, how your job turns out on a daily basis.
Okay. Hello, ZenFam. My name is Davey. I am um, I'm basically the one of the people behind Gamer Hub. I helped found it in the first place. It's been around for a long time. Um, Gamer Hub was the brainchild of one Gavin Divers. He's a gaming journalist and he runs Diving Jobs, a gaming recruitment website based in Scotland, one in Scotland. And he basically came up with the idea of what if we could create a website written by gamers for gamers, where we could tell you what we really think of it, make it funny, and show you what the games are actually like, but also cover games that your average gaming magazine you can get in WH Smith's doesn't cover. What if we could do indie games, stuff that really makes people go, "Oh wow, that looks interesting," and that's where that came from. I've been writing for Gamer Hub since 2019. In fact, my first article that went live on that site was in January 2019. I have been writing as a video games journalist for 8 years now. I'm getting a bit long in the tooth. My day starts like this. The first thing you do in the morning, you have your coffee, obviously, shower, dress, coffee, whatever. Usually say hi to my baby Pikachu. I have him. Um, and then you check your email inbox and you check your daily digest to see what's coming out. You research the games you want to go and review. You go and you go and contact their press people. You have a chat with them. There's often a bit of toing and throwing with, oh, I want this, but I want that. Can we do this, that, the other? Then it's getting down to gaming, and that's sort of fun bit happens. But you've got to learn how to manage your time properly because I might review 2 or 3 video games over the course of a week. But for every hour of gaming, there's about 5 hours of writing and planning and research. There's a lot involved in it, and also you have to look at the implications. For example, Hogwarts Legacy last year, which is a very, very good game, and it's really, really beautiful to look at. There are certain implications with that because some people don't like J.K. Rowling for whatever reason, and implications of maybe giving that. You need to discuss that with your other writers. You need to also manage them. So, hey, Al, how are you doing? Hey, Galadrius the Mighty, how are you? Are we all okay? Do we need this? Do we need that? Is there a problem with this? There's that to consider. There's also, from my point of view, as a manager doing the managerial stuff, we have to discover, okay, we want advertisements on the site. How do we make that work? Do we do this? Do we do that? How do we make that work for everybody? And also, I have to basically manage Elle, who I mentioned earlier. Lou is lovely, but we also have to make sure we know that he's happy. Okay, he's got a key for this, he's got a key for that. Who wants this? Who wants that? How quickly can you get that done? There's a lot of headache involved.
So there's a lot of spinning plates. So you're not
Your
just
job,
a journalist, you're also you control a pool of journalists as well.
I wouldn't say control is the right word. I'd like to think we all work together more as a team, but it is
All
my
right.
job to basically see how they are.
That's an impressive CV you have, my friend. So
It's a very
when you're
stressful job.
yeah. So how did you actually get into journalism? Did you actually like go to university and study a journalism degree, or did you learn it by yourself? How did that process come about?
Okay, so that kind of started with me. Um, I I went to university. I'm a graduate of the University of Lancaster. I did English literature with creative writing. Um, from there, I went on to work for several newspapers in the northwest of England. Did that well. Whilst I was at university, I got a job working for a video gaming and pop culture website called What Culture.
I know What Culture. They do good content.
They do amazing stuff. I worked there briefly before trying my hand freelancing, which I ended up having much better results with. And then I moved to personal situation meant I lost my home. I ended up living back with my family, and we moved to Scotland. And I bumped into Gavin, found out what this was all about, and went, okay, well, I'm in. Because honestly, some of the stuff that I've got to be able to do with Gamer Hub is stuff that if you'd have told 19-year-old me that I would be doing now at 31, the 19-year-old me would be telling you to go home, you've had too much to drink.
I think a lot of us can relate to situations like that. Once you get to a certain age, you look back and you go, wow, I've done some mad stuff.
Yeah. Um, it is legitimately crazy, some of it. I'm not going to lie. There has been some downright silly things. I had to be stopped by my ex partner because I went to a gaming convention nearly 2.5 years ago where I had the money to do it, and I very nearly got a Zelda tattoo on my leg. They had to tell me to behave myself and stop being so stupid, and I hadn't shaved my leg, so it was going to be the point.
Eek. Yeah, you've got to have bare skin before you get ink, bro.
No. It was more of a case of, do I really want to do it there and then and have to shave my leg and all the rigmarole? And there's a huge queue, and I was just like, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, it sounds like it would be way big hassle. So I imagine you've probably got some really interesting stories to tell from years of bouncing around various video games and conventions and stuff. Is there any one particular story that you think would really resonate with the audience as to the process of being a games journalist and just gamers in general?
I've got a couple. I mean, for me, one of the nicest people I've actually met was at Replay Events in 2023. For those who don't know, me and Zembloke go back about a year and a half. We went to Glasgow Replay Events, and that's where I met Zembloke for the first time. Although I'd been watching his stuff on YouTube for quite a while beforehand. Me and him know each other from social media. And what happened there was I'd come into some money recently, and Quarter Arcades had their new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade for pre-order, and it's one of those moments where you go, "Do I? Or don't I? Do I? Don't I?" And I had more than enough money. I probably spent a bit too much. Um, I ended up walking away with a certificate saying, for pre-order. But gamers, we've all had that moment where we've been waiting on something and it's been delayed. If you're a Cyberpunk fan, I think you can relate here. I was told that this Quarter Arcade would be delivered to my flat within 7 months. It was just over 14 months when it finally arrived. It is in my flat. It's still in its box. I have taken it out and used it a few times. I'm going to be bringing it up to. I'm going to be bringing it up here when the time is right, because I can see somebody's lights, somebody's eyes lighting up behind there for a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game.
You're involved with a gamer. You chose well.
Actually, she's not a gamer, but she's a fantastic poet by the name of Hannah Nicholson, and I'm just going to give it a shout out now.
Go for it, dude.
So yeah, but no, we've all had that moment where we're waiting for something and it's either late or doesn't turn up. The great thing about the TMNT game is that it's finally turned up. The problem is it didn't come with the controllers. So just like Cyberpunk, it came on. So I've had to go and buy 2 extra controllers.
Oh dear. It never ends, does it?
Um,
It never ends.
it never ends. Although it does relate, it does mean that I can make lots of jokes. A good example of this was yesterday. I just want to say hi to Jude Bellingham and Hey Hudbuds who said hello on the live chat.
Oh, hello,
Um,
guys.
Hello, guys. One of the funniest things that's happened to me recently is I have a condition, which means that I can't really eat lettuce. We had a 2-for-1 thing on the Burger King. I can't eat certain vegetables. My stomach doesn't work with them, basically.
Oh, interesting.
And so we went to Burger King yesterday to try this new chimichurri smoked Angus burger, which was nice, but they got my order wrong. And I was just like, oh, God, just take it, get our money back. Be a bit like that. Be a bit like that game that's just been pulled off PlayStation today that they're offering refunds for. Oh,
Oh,
Fallout
Concord.
76.
Yeah.
Hi. To be fair to Concord, I do feel sorry for it, but it was a quite clear rip-off. They knew they were going to get stung by it eventually. I'm just
You
wondering
figure
whether it was
Sony would have learned from that. I mean, they did it with Foam Stars. They did it themselves with PlayStation All Stars as well. It's like
Battlefield.
if you go
Sorry.
so close to another company's game, then there's obviously going to be comparisons made, and if the comparisons are less than stellar, then it's not going to fly.
Aye. It's one of those things where I looked at it and going, how on earth has this got past legal, let alone anything else? Because you'd think their legal departments would be going, guys, this is basically plagiarism. Yeah, you haven't used their code, but you've stolen the whole IP. But instead of making them supervillains, you've made them aliens.
Yeah, I think what they did was they tried to use the same approach as like Jim Stephanie Sterling, as throw so many things into the mix that like by the time the legals come in to pick apart what they want, so many legal teams would be fighting over it. There'd be nothing for any of them to have.
Yeah. So I guess this is time we should be talking best games, worst games. Best game I've reviewed. Okay, 2 actually. I used to have just 1, but there's a game I played recently which I'm actually reviewing the DLC for over the weekend, and
Oh,
it's called Not for Broadcast. Your job is you have to control a news broadcast. Now, given the nature of my job, I very much enjoyed this, but it's a very, very, very funny game, and I highly recommend it.
oh, is this a
The
console
DLC,
or PC or what? Oh,
PC
lovely.
and console, being able to play on all major consoles, including Switch. Any other Switch gamers in the house? The other one I would recommend, and this one's just on Steam, and there is a homebrewed made Dreamcast cartridge for this. So Dreamcast disc for this. It's called
Oh,
Flea, and it's been made by Waltech Games and Alistair Lowe. They're based out of Dundee. It's a platform where you play as a flea with ADHD as he tries to escape the layers of the coat of his dog, and it is absolutely superb.
that's a convoluted plot, but I am intrigued.
A hyperactive flea that's a bit mental, trying to escape the dog through each layer of its coat.
And they say there's
It
no
can't,
new ideas.
it can't stop bouncing, and it's hilarious.
Is it like Powerball in the Commodore 16 where you actually have to control the level of bounce?
Yes.
Wow. I
Well,
would like a
sort of.
go
There
at
are 2
that.
modes. There's 2 modes. There's one where you can, and one where you just bounce, and it's uncontrollable. I'd actually prefer playing it on the hard level where you can't control how high it bounces, so you just kind of have to work with it.
What interesting mechanic.
I really enjoy it. Um,
So
eh,
those are the good games. What are the bad games?
okay. Um, let's start with the obvious one, the one that I famously gave -1 joystick to. That was the first Nickelodeon kart racer. On Gamer Hub, we rank things from 0 joysticks, which means don't even consider buying So 5, which is if you haven't got this already, what the heck are you doing? Joysticks. I famously gave one game in my career a -1 joystick, and it was the first Nickelodeon
Minus.
kart race.
Wow.
It got minus out of me, which is, I think it's the worst reviewed game I ever actually did, reviewing wise. Nothing about that game worked. There was no decent audio. There's no voice acting. There was a very limited amount of characters. There was no clear progression through it. It was a Mario Kart clone that didn't even work as a Mario Kart clone. It only had one interesting mechanic that changed the format slightly, and that was the gunge. But if you played any of the other Nickelodeon kart races, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Basically, you drive for the
there's a
green gun.
problem with kart racers I've noticed where like there's been some really great ideas, but they've been poorly implemented, like Coffin Dodgers.
Oh, I love that game, but
Yeah,
for all the
it's
wrong
such a creative
reasons.
little idea, but it's done so little business because almost nobody knows it exists.
Aye. By the way, Coffin Dodgers I have reviewed on Gamer Hub. I will be sending Zenbloke a link to my review of that. Coffin
I
Dodgers
enjoy
is
reading your
amazing.
review, so I look forward to reading that, brother.
I love Coffin Dodgers. For those who don't know, the concept is you and 7 other people who are old and in the retirement home have to race from the Grim Reaper himself on rocket powered electric scooters. I can't
I always
remember.
remember as well the other one that always took my fancy, but I don't think it ever got off the ground. Was there was a kart race that was supposed to be based around several properties, but primarily it was based on one of the main things that perked my ears up was King of the Hill. So you had like
Yeah,
Hank
I
Hill,
heard about
Bobby
this game,
Hill, like
but
Boomhauer and stuff
yeah.
in karts. And I just really loved the idea of that.
And they were going to put Peter Griffin in it as well from Family Guy.
Yes.
I was kind of gutted that never became a thing. Favorite kart racer? Sorry, it's Mario Kart 8, and there's Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and there's no alternative. There really isn't. It's just so fun. And playing online is just as fun as playing offline.
I mean, even as a hardcore Sony guy, I have to admit that like when it comes to kart racers, Mario is the ultimate solution. I mean, it's where it more or less
If you if
began.
you
As much as I love Mod Nation racers, and it always has a soft spot in my heart, you can't deny the power of Mario Kart.
The one I really love that isn't on Nintendo, well, it is on Nintendo, but it's not purely on Nintendo, is Team Sonic Racing. That game is insane. I really like that game.
Funny, I thought you were going to say Crash Bandicoot. I don't know why, I just got the sense you were going to say Crash Bandicoot.
I like Crash Bandicoot. I prefer Team Sonic Racing. It's better to play online.
Hey, you got to make your happy happen, bro.
It's just a lot smoother than Crash Team Racing is good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Good. I'm not gonna lie, it's great. I love it, and I had the original, guys. I'm that sort of old. But honestly, Team Sonic Racing, the music's better, everything works better, and because of the way that they balance it out, when you start playing on the harder level, I was very surprised with that game. I was like, oh god, not another rip off of Mario. Oh my god, this isn't. It really works.
It's nice when you get a surprise like
Just
that. When you get a game that comes along and you go, hey, this is better than I thought it was going to be. Like I've always said, the game that surprised me the most was what was it? There was that Tron game. I forget the name of it. It was based between Tron and Tron Legacy in the timeline, and it's kind of what was it called? But basically, I mean, it was a movie tie-in game, but it wasn't exactly. And even though the story
okay.
itself was a fairly bog standard story, the online mode of this game, it was rock solid. I mean, the lobbies were quick, and there was always people playing. You would never fail to get a game. It was just
Speaking
such a
of things
well put
being rock
together game.
solid, one of my favorite trends in gaming is it's getting harder, but I really can't stand the trend of games being deliberately ridiculously difficult. I'm looking at you, Dark Souls, Soulsborne, etc. What's
You
the
wanna? I
point?
can tell you a dirty secret that I don't think I've shared on the channel before. When it comes to Souls likes, I got hold of Bloodborne a couple of months after it came out. My neighbor let me borrow his copy, and I was so excited to play it. And I was going in it, and I was trying to make it happen, and I just couldn't get to grips with it. Eventually, I handed it back to my pal, and I said, "Sorry, man, I just can't make this work. I don't know what I'm doing. It's just not gelling." And he goes, "Well, what's wrong, man?" This is like, well, I couldn't get the weapon to work, and and then I just kept dying and dying and dying. And he went, "Dude, are you trying to tell me that you were trying to kill the wolf with one weapon?" I was like, "Yeah." And he says, "Mate, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to have two weapons, and you're supposed to let the wolf kill you. That's how you progress to the next part of the game." And by that point, I'd already given it back and had written it off.
Um, I have a little brother who doesn't game as much as he might want to do, but then he's married and he's got kids.
Hmm.
Not so long ago, he decides, oh, my brother's a gaming journalist. Davey, yeah? What's Skyrim like? I went, oh, it's great. Go kill a chicken and let me know how it goes. I didn't think anything of it. 3 weeks later, I get a very angry phone call from my sister-in-law. Says, he's been killing that chicken. He can't progress in the game. He ends up shouting and screaming. I was like, I was only joking when I said go kill the chicken at Riverwood. If you've played
I
Skyrim,
suppose
you'll
that
go.
I suppose this particular line of conversation leads us to ask the question: what is the game to your mind that made you into a gamer?
I don't have one. I have three because I had a Game Boy.
Oh,
And um, all three made me a gamer for different reasons. There were different aspects that I liked. The first was Pokemon Yellow. You can. Sorry, you can be a bit conversational at times. Um, yeah, Pokemon Yellow was the first game I had. I absolutely loved Pokemon Yellow. It's the hardest of all three, sort of all four of the Gen 1 games. It's deliberately so. There's no sort of getting around it. Oh, by the way, if you're trying Pokemon Yellow for the first time and you're not using anything like Game Shark codes, I I highly recommend catching a Mankey as soon as possible because it will help you beat Brock. Because there's very few Pokemon with a type advantage over Brock, and Pikachu is basically useless in the first gym. It really teaches you about difficulty curves in a quite nice way, actually.
top
Second
tip.
game was second game for me was called Blades of Steel. Both me and my little brother like ice hockey, and neither of us were very good at this game, but we really enjoyed facing each other at it, particularly since we had long car journeys most of our childhood. Whenever we had a disagreement or an argument, we'd just load up the Game Boys and we'd have a hockey match. I usually lost. He was much better at that game than I was. The third game and final game was Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone.
Original
If you
PlayStation, yes.
know the original Game Boy game,
Oh, that one. Okay.
the Game Boy Color game, where it doesn't follow the film at all, it follows the book instead. And J.K. Rowling really doesn't like you playing that video game. But no, it's because it teaches you. It's basically final. It's basically taken a lot of its hints from Final Fantasy, and it follows the game. The combat is based on turn-based. We have to use spells and everything to help you get better. It's really, really actually solidly good, and it's a difficult game as well. I mean, I'm not going to compare it to Soulsborne or Dark Souls or Bloodborne, but it is really properly difficult. I've got a cartridge copy at home for my Game Boy, and it took me just under 15 hours as an adult.
Yeah, it's weird when you play games from your youth as an older person, and you go, "But I beat this silly when I was younger." Like recently, I've been just for kicks. I've been playing Grand Theft Auto Definitive Edition version of San Andreas. Because I played it back on
Okay,
the
so
PS2, and I just
I could,
fancied reliving it. And even though it looks
I
like
can,
mince,
I can answer something with that. One, they didn't upscale it properly. They just
oh, I
sorry, they
know.
didn't upres it. They just upscaled it. Two, they recoded all the hedges and fences as hard objects, so you can't drive through a hedge like you used to on the PlayStation 2.
Yes, I learned that to my detriment.
They made the same. They made the same sort of coding errors and idiotic development choices that they made with the first Crash Bandicoot remaster. If anybody remembers that when they brought back Crash for the PlayStation 4, and all the errors we remember from the PlayStation 1 game were in there.
Oh.
Also added in that we also, because all they did was upscale the graphics. They didn't think, oh, let's sort out the bugs or the problems. And there were quite a few different things where people were falling off things backs and etc.
Thing is, the
By the way,
hitboxes in that remaster though were different because in the old version of Crash Bandicoot, your foot could land there on a block and he'd be okay on the old version, but you do that on the new version, off you went.
yeah. By the way, whilst we're on the subject of bringing games back, hey, if anybody from Warner Brothers is watching this, Scooby Doo and a Cyber Chase, give us a remaster, please.
We all
Don't
have
make
our
it
wish
like
lists.
Don't make it lifelike. Oh, and bring back Dino Crisis. We all want a decent Dino Crisis game.
Yeah, I believe wasn't it the Capcom guy that said like you don't need a Dino Crisis, you've got whatever that one is where the dinosaurs fall from the sky and
Yeah,
come at you in waves. I can't remember the name of it, but you know the one I mean.
yeah. The one that gets me is I really, really want another dinosaur game that isn't Jurassic World.
Yes, I mean Jurassic Park and the franchise they're in is great stuff, but it needs to be
I
something
love that
else.
franchise. In my private life, I'm actually trying to get a TV series off the ground based on the worlds of Jurassic Park. I love Jurassic Park. I love Jurassic World. Most of the video games. Operation Genesis and Trespasser are great. I love the Evolution series. But I want a game that isn't that. I mean, Survival does look good, to be fair. And I'm really looking forward to Jurassic World Survival. I'm actually on the list for when that game gets to come to us first. I will be playing it.
Have you ever played the Cab Shooter?
Yes.
It's a good one, isn't it? It's absolutely mental, but it's a good game.
About a mile or so from where I am right now, there is a fun fair. Well, it's like a fairground with indoor amusements called Cadonas, and they've got one. Yeah, I've played that game a lot. It has been my dear money on a few occasions.
We've all had that particular
I
regular arcade machine. For me, back in the day, is that if ever I came across a Top Skater, I was on that puppy in a flash. Loved that game.
Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift Super Bikes. I was really good at that game.
Yeah, that's a
It does
solid
help
title.
the fact I can actually. Pardon?
I said that's a solid
You just
title.
love it. Up here, they've actually got the Mario Kart arcade machines. I'm going on a date on Friday, and I'm thinking of taking somebody on a sit.
Nice, nice. We've got, I think that's the same one that's in Edinburgh here in the local 10-pin bowling, which used to be Mega Bowl. And it's like 4 cart units lined up in one, and it's like all brightly coloured, and it looks like a Mario Kart from the latter Nintendo systems, but just with like bigger screens and stuff. I think we're talking about the same one.
Speaking of Jurassic Park,
oh, aye. If you like Jurassic Park so much and you like dinosaur stuff, how were you when it came to Primal? The Far Cry Primal game.
I liked that game. I really like that game, but I'm in the minority. I like that game, and not many other people do.
Yeah, a lot of people found it to be rather plodding. I never got very far, but then that's because I was around a mate's house playing it, and we mostly did chatting.
It's worth being patient with it. The payoff is worth it.
It did start very, very slowly.
It has to because the concept is so far away. It's such a far cry from the other Far Cry games.
And as
You
memory
kind of need.
serves, it's the same map, just with different dressing that it was for Far Cry. Which one was it? The religious one,
Aye,
wasn't it?
Primal has a bunch of different mechanics to it as well. Once you get past a certain event, which I'm not going to spoil, you're just gonna have to play for yourself, gamers.
Oh yeah, no
I'm not
spoilers
interested in
here.
spoiling the game. No spoilers. That's actually one of the biggest problems in my job is trying to prevent spoilers. For example, recently I reviewed a 6-year-old video game called the Doki Doki Literature Club.
I know of it.
If you've played the game, you'll know there's a huge twist. And I spent 4 or 5 drafts trying to review the game without spoiling the twist.
Ooh, that must have been tricky to write around.
It's really tricky. And I wouldn't normally do that, but the twist in Doki Doki is that big of a twist that I didn't want to do people disservice by saying, oh, it's X or Y.
Hmm. So when it comes to writing
Uh,
reviews, have you any hints or tips for any budding games journalists out there? Like in
okay.
writing
Well,
styles or how to collect your information, stuff like that.
first off, you talk to the developers, you talk to anybody involved in the video game, get as much research done as possible, read around if you can. Half of my job is reading around and emailing people and finding out what I can about the game. Secondly, you need to have a decent structure. So I always have introduction, plot, gameplay, graphics, accessibility, and then how it's been received and whether I think that's right before giving it a joystick rating, linking you to several other articles on the sites, and then saying, for the Gamer Hub, I've been Davey and you are all legends. It's been my sign off for years.
It sounds very much
Um,
like being a YouTuber because within YouTube, as I've developed and grown over this last decade, there's particular things I do to make a video happen. I mean, there's ways I set my room up. There's always little things I say. There's always ways that there's a particular way that I end the video, and I like to think there's a particular. It's hard to say a visual style, but there's a particular way that I present myself to an audience I like to think it's a more conversational style than most other YouTubers in my ilk.
I always start mine, but this is me personally, my voice, and aspiring gaming journalists don't do what I've done here. I always start mine with hello, ladies and gentlemen, and those of non-binary nature. My name is Davey, and this is the Gamer Hub. That mention the game. Okay. But no. I've just been informed we can't get Astrobot before the general public. That's okay because we'll have it reviewed within a week. Doing us, somebody will get it. I just know it won't be me. Not this time, anyway.
It does look most
Been,
charming, that game.
I love the original Astro's Playroom. If you've played it, you'll know why.
I remember when Astrobot was first introduced on PlayStation 4, and it had the AR game where you could basically have little Astrobots and that floating around you in your space. And I remember there were people who were using it to basically broadcast live to the world. Some of them were just talking, some of them were having parties, but they were using the live broadcast functionality as part of that game with the live casting abilities of the PS4 that it came in box with. And there was some crazy streams at that time. There's some people doing some stuff you would never get away with now. And it was kind of groundbreaking. I think Sony had to really hold the reins on that one.
Sony really had a problem with that, and it got out of control very, very quickly. Okay, I guess this is time we talk about consoles and what we choose to use. For those who follow me on social media, which I'm sure to help the Zenfan with. I use Switch, PlayStation, and Xbox, but I vary them around. It depends on what I've got to do and how much I've got to do. There's no point in me using a PlayStation full time if I'm not getting games for it full time. My Switch is my go-to. I love my Switch, but you do get games once in a while where this isn't going to work, so you're going to need to use that console instead. You don't have a choice in my industry. You really don't. And if I can get a game on Steam, I prefer to get a game on Steam.
Do you have a Steam Deck?
Nope, I have a gaming laptop.
Yeah.
I don't have a Steam Deck because I'm not made of money. The most of them. I'm sorry, but I wasn't robbed by the Monopoly. I'm sorry, I've been mugged by the Monopoly man. You know what I mean?
I hear you, brother.
Honestly, doing this job is quite expensive. About 35% of my spending money over the space of 3 months will go towards something gaming related.
Can you claim any of that back on tax as a work expense?
Sometimes it depends, and the paperwork in it is insane. So I just try to. If anybody here watching is in the gaming industry, particularly in the UK, or even worse, if you're in Scotland, you'll know as well as we do here that tax stuff in relation to gaming is insane. For those who don't know, about 45% of video games are at least partially coded in Scotland. There is a very good reason for this. Scotland has been at the forefront of gaming since the 1980s. Without Scotland, you would have had no Space Invaders. Galaxian wouldn't exist. Galaga might have existed, but that's up for debate. We also create Grand Theft Auto, Red Dead Redemption, you name it. We've done loads here in Scotland.
True. I mean, before Grand Theft Auto, it was DMA Design, and that was how we got Lemmings. So yeah, you're spot on, brother.
It makes me very privileged as a Yorkshireman who has basically now an adopted Scot. I've been up here since 2017.
We've had plenty of time to ruin your accent.
I hear that, actually. So the weird thing is, I sound like a Scot to my friends and family in Yorkshire, and I sound so broad up here that they're like, "Is he from Yorkshire? I don't know." And plus, now spending a lot of my time in Aberdeen, that's compounded it even further. Scotland is huge for the video gaming industry, and I'm very glad to live here.
So, what's the next big move for you, bro? What's is there any big plans for Gamer Hub, or any sort of interesting things on the horizon that you're doing professionally that you can speak about?
Not that I can speak about right now. There's a lot to be done. We're currently in the process of overhauling a few things. It's going to be interesting. That's all I can say for now. If you're a Gamer Hub fan, you're going to love it. If you're working for Gamer Hub like me, it's a bit stressful right now.
I imagine there must be a lot of concern for someone from a small publication like yours, seeing how things have been for other publications like Kotaku and stuff, and seeing a lot of publications that have been going for years go to the wall.
I think what their problem is, they were owned by bigger companies who then folded. Kotaku UK, I actually did some writing for them, and the worst thing is I didn't back it all up properly. Oh, and by the way, if you are a gaming journalist, back all of your stuff up. It is worth paying that £12.99 a month. It really is. Just public service announcement there. It is concerning, but the thing is, we've been doing it for a long time. We've got the name recognition. You ask anybody in the gaming industry in Scotland, do they know who Gamer Hub is? They go, "Do you mean the guy with the cane, or do you mean the big dude?" And it's, you know what I mean? We've got that kind of recognition out there. Plus, we do work with other brands as well. Insert coin tees and So Z Game Energy, we've worked with both of those. By the way, guys, when you go and find at Gamer Hub Co on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call that site these days, and look at our bio, we've got a link there. You can get 10% off any Z Game Energy drink, and it tastes like Iron Brew. No, it actually does. They've made
Wow.
one that tastes like Iron Brew, and it
I
is
miss Iron Brew,
beautiful.
man. I miss it. Ever since the sugar tax, I just can't. It just doesn't taste right. So to find out there is something that tastes like Iron Brew, I may have to just investigate on that.
Hi, Generation Pixel. Howdy.
Oh, Generation Pixel, the man. Nice. I want to get you on this, brother. Your
Uh,
Generation Pixel is such a total dude. I don't know. You knew him.
I don't. I've
All
just
right.
seen it come up, and I recognise the YouTube channel. That's all. I was like, oh, hello.
Oh
Yeah.
man,
So very, very stressful at the moment. There's a lot to be done, and I would very much like a part 2 of this once I'm past a certain thing that we're doing right now.
you're more than welcome back. You let me know if you want to. In fact, we might even do it in person. That would be nice.
All right,
I think
that would
we
be
did
very
talk about
nice.
that a while ago. I remember.
We did, and then life got in the way, and
Yeah, as it
for
often
both
does.
for both of us, to be fair.
Yeah, well, I mean, I have a small person and I work a job that's like 8 hours a day, and I have to travel an hour 42 and an hour 40 back from it. So it's like,
You working? I take it you're working somewhere near where I normally stay.
I work somewhere that I'm trying not to get in trouble with social media rules of where I work. Um, I work somewhere near somewhere that was Chelsea town planned.
Ah, okay, cool. I get your point. Fair
Yeah,
enough.
people outside of Scotland won't get that, so I'm thinking it down.
Aye, and some people in Scotland won't get that either. The other sort of iron brew you can get that tastes like the real thing is Iron Brew 1901 in a glass bottle.
I see. There, I would have contention with you. Back when it came out, I was excited. I set up my tablet on one side, my phone on the other. One was on Instagram Live, the other was on Periscope Live, just before it joined Twitter. Yes, I still
Okay,
call it Twitter. And I was live streaming on two streams at the same time, testing 1901 out.
it's
It
not
didn't
bad.
hit
It's not
home.
the real thing, but it's not bad.
Yeah, it tasted like when you get one of those own brand ones from like Tesco or Sainsbury's. And when it's spelt when it's spelt like Iron Brew, you know.
Aye. Um, okay, pardon me. That's me drinking Dr Pepper. For those who ever see me working, I pretty much live off this stuff.
So that's like you and Rob Pearson then.
Yeah, I hear about him. I think it's a Dr Pepper as well. No, I'm just currently on a coffee clear out, so
Ah,
I'm going to
have you
go
ever
with it.
met anybody else big in the games industry, like anyone from PlayStation Access or any big game developer team guys?
I
Like,
have
have you ever had
actually.
a Kojima experience?
I've never had a Kojima experience. I recently got to interview Jorg Titel, who made T Smash VRS on the PlayStation 5 for the VR2. He was
Nice.
lovely. Honestly, I think the best interview I've had. Although saying that, the guys who made A Body Odyssey in Dundee, close second. They were both really, really awesome people. Um, I've met lots of different people in the video gaming industry, more than I care to count. On the whole, Larry Herb was awesome. Larry Herb, he was very, very, very good.
Yeah.
And he added me on Xbox. I lost my Xbox and ended up getting a new one.
How
Long
did you
story
lose
short,
an entire Xbox?
I lost a lot of electronics when lightning struck the building I was staying in at the time.
Ah,
Um, when I got a new Xbox, when the insurance paid out, Larry Herb had actually messaged me and gone, "Are you all right, man? I haven't seen you on here for a while."
that was
So yeah,
nice.
that's the kind of guy he is. Um, Also,
My
whilst on
my game meetups have been very small. I mean, the most I've ever done is I have met Craig from Pure Dead Gaming. That's the best I can do, mate.
oh, he's fun though. I met
He's a
Craig.
good guy. He's a nice bloke.
I met him the same day I met you, as it happens. About an hour after I met you.
That's right. He was at the same convention. That's right. Yes. And
He
of
needed
course,
help.
I've met Tech Tucker in real life. He's a lovely chap. His brother's a good guy
Uh,
too.
I've not met I've not met Dominic Diamond, but I would love to. Generation Pixel. They've said I'll only
Yeah,
be
that goes
impressed.
double for me, mate. Oh, you know who I would love to interview here, but I doubt I'll ever get the chance. But it's a kind of part of one of the dreams of this series. Is I would love, absolutely dearly love to interview Rab Florence.
Yeah, a lot of people would like to actually, and I will be having a look about that myself when I get off this and I get my review done. The next article I'm writing for Gamer Hub is a review of Lego's The Incredibles.
Hmm.
I'm nearly finished writing that as we speak, so either tonight or tomorrow night that will be up on the air.
Nice.
It's been lovely to talk to you, Zen fam. Lovely to talk to you, Zen bloke. However, it's been 45 minutes. I am getting message after message from my work chat, which is now saying, "Okay, you've had your chat with your friends, YouTube."
I'm sorry, dude. I should. Okay, okay. In that case, I will love you and let you go. Feel free to give a sponsor or shout out to anything you feel before we close the stream, and then we'll do a little bye bye.
Okay, so first off, I need to give a shout out to Hannah Nicholson, who you can find on Twitter at Tattooed Selkie, and on most other social media sites at, I'm going to spell this out phonetically for you, at Tango Oscar Oscar Richard Indigo Echo Kilo Echo Papa. She is a great poet who writes poems in both Doric and Shetland, which are two different dialects of Scots, and mostly Shetland. Secondly, give us a like at Game Hub. You can just find us at Game Hub on most things on X, Twitter, whatever. It's at Game Hub Co. You can find me for non-gaming related stuff and some spicy stuff that isn't really associated with anything to do with my site. At It's Davey, which is spelled at ITSDAIBHI.
Which is the Celtic scale spelling of Davy, so
It's
don't get
Cornish.
confused later, Tim.
I'm of Cornish ancestry. It's the way that my
Yeah.
name is spelled.
Yeah.
Finally, what else? Oh yeah, go and check out Dive In Jobs if you're in the gaming industry and you're after a job. He's Gavin Divers and Dive In Jobs is the guy you want to speak to. There we do. Also,
All very
finally,
solid Rex, dude.
lastly but not by no means least, Z Game Energy, the energy drink. They do a sour apple, they do a cherry, they do an iron brew one. I've had all three. They're all really, really good. Just make sure you don't have more than two in a day, or you'll be up for 48 hours, which is what happened to me.
Well, it's been wonderful chatting to you. Thank you for participating in this episode. Thank you for being part of the second episode. Hopefully, I will get to do many, many more. Ladies and gentlemen of the Zen fam, obviously, typey down below in the comment section once this video becomes a VOD. And if you've any further questions, then I will seek to answer them to the best of my ability. Right now, the
Or
best I can say is that. Oh,
if you want me to answer any questions, you've got any questions for me, feel free to send them at him, and I'll try and answer them as well.
yeah. I'll try and remember to in the video description once this becomes a VOD to put your Twitter link in the description. I'll try to remember to do that, but sometimes this is a bit Swiss cheese. Okay, guys. Hashtag support Scottish YouTubers, and of course, as always, I. Nae bother.
Aye. Nae bother.